Does your average game look like this? Do you want to be doing this instead? You're in the right place. This video will help you find and fix mistakes to help you improve your overall KD. Sprinting has become a norm for arcade FPS players due to certain franchises. These games have relatively small penalties to being caught mid-sprint due to their gameplay offering fast readying, slower time to kill, and high movement speed. Battlebit, however, shares some DNA with milsim and hardcore FPS games and has these traits: slow readying, fast time to kill, slow movement speed. In this clip, I am sprinting for no reason, and I sprint straight out onto this unknown street. I get one kill and then try to retreat, but I die before getting back due to the fast time to kill. By sprinting around this corner, I have placed myself in a position where I have to commit to whatever is around the corner instead of peeking it correctly. Here's an example of me approaching a corner with better results. I am sprinting, but I stop when I reach the corner and clear it more carefully. And this means I can get behind the corner again when I take some damage instead of dying to more distant enemies. Whilst I have shown why you shouldn't sprint around unknown corners, there are some rules that apply to sprinting anywhere that helps me to die less. Firstly, let's identify some reasons as to why you should sprint. Sprinting to minimise time spent in dangerous situations, such as crossing streets, getting from cover to cover, or sniper fire. In these situations, you're more concerned with getting from A to B and aren't really looking to fight in that moment. A second reason to sprint is if it's unlikely you'd encounter an enemy, say if you're at your spawn or going around the edge of the map. If you think there's a coin toss to encounter an enemy, which should be most of the time around more popular areas of the map, you could sprint, but I'd prefer to walk with my rifle ready for hip firing to increase my awareness and lower response time. Lastly, if you know enemies are close, say at the end of a corridor, I would almost never consider sprinting. That's because they can peek at any time and you'd want your rifle ready, so I'd consider walking or even pre-aiming or pre-firing depending on the situation. When you next play, I'd like you to ask, why are you sprinting right now? Are you sprinting for safety reasons, or you're very sure you won't find an enemy? Or are you sprinting just to speed up the gameplay to get into action again sooner? I think misunderstanding and misuse of sprinting is a very common cause of death in Battlebit. I spawn on a teammate taking C and watch our backs as he's just entered the building. An enemy shortly arrives and I win the fight. That's great, so what are the problems with my position? Where is my cover? Where are my fallback options? Do I have multiple angles? To show why these matter, what would I have done if another person came in right now? I'd probably die as I have no control over when to fight. They have all the control because they can peek from cover, which is the door, they'll fall back if I start to win an exchange, or they can try flanking me. I recognise I had no control, so I've repositioned further into the building. Now I have two options for cover instead of zero, those being each side of this door frame. I also now can fall back and disengage, say if 5 people turned up at this doorway, which would be falling back through the building to the next doorway or obstacle. Here I'm using 2 barricades as cover. Notice that I'm always moving, both when enemies can see me and when they can't. I'm firing in short bursts and going prone and using my cover to avoid taking too much return fire. Being a little unpredictable is a good thing, especially against snipers. Get comfortable with firing a weapon whilst moving and changing directions. This is a clip that highlights multiple options you'll get in every game. Firstly, I could back out and use the entry to the building. I could also take cover behind the sofa. I could also use the central wall. There's sometimes an obvious choice, but here, all answers are valid given the current information. If you die, try to consider what other options were available to you. Would they have changed the outcome by offering different positions and fallbacks? Now somebody's caught me mid-reload. I have 2 options. I can widen the angle, meaning he would have to enter the building in order to be able to shoot me, or I can use the central cover. And this last kill transitions nicely to my next topic, which is this enemy injures me and is pushing me aggressively. In terms of positioning, all of these would be valid to try and survive. The red one is a fighting position, and the other two would allow you to disengage and bandage. As I can hear that he's sprinting up to me, I go close and have 30 rounds now loaded, so I just hold the trigger down and slow peek. You can see I'm shooting a car at first, but I also begin to clear the corner by moving left whilst holding down the trigger. This is a pre-fire. I know an enemy's approximate location, and I am preemptively shooting some of my bullets to get the quickest possible kill against them. Pre-firing known enemy positions is important in order to reduce the damage you take back. If you can kill people before they can return fire, it allows you to get kill streaks much more easily than waiting to see someone before you shoot. Remember, you have 30 rounds and only need 4 to 5 to kill someone with body shots. These next sets will show situations where I can't even see the enemy I'm shooting at. However, I just start shooting, strafing and aiming at approximately where their gunfire is coming from, and I get kills as a result. Here, I am solo capping a flag that has an entire enemy squad defending it. I will be pre-firing via listening to their footstep audio, and I'll be repositioning with cover and fallback to minimize incoming damage and help me keep fragging in this doomed scenario. Here's a slow motion example of one of the pre-fires. Notice I'm shooting before I've even looked down the corridor, and I've put several rounds straight down the middle of the corridor into that wall at the far end. If he was pushing me via the centre of the corridor, which is what most people would do, he'd already be almost dead. Also, note how his weapon is not even ready to fire yet due to sprinting, yet I've still got multiple shots downrange already. If you sprint around corners, you may end up in situations such as this. Here, you may get one kill, but there are 2 other enemies who will easily kill you back. A better way to approach corners is to cut the corner into a pie, some held by enemies and some by you. You want to slowly take control of pieces of the pie with short, controlled movements. What this allows you to do is 1v1 each enemy instead of 3v1ing. I am fighting this enemy and another enemy appears. Since he's on the outside of the pie, I can concede the pie to him by just moving left, which keeps the fight a 1v1. Notice that he's trying to get a clear shot on me, but I'm keeping him blocked with the wall until I'm done with the other enemy. You're much more likely to win a 1v1 3 times than win a 3v1 directly. The second you're under fire by someone you're not shooting back at, you should be getting into cover immediately, as it's highly unlikely you'll be able to win that fight. This is another reason why it's important to play carefully and with cover. Here, I'm aiming high and someone begins shooting me from the archers below. I instantly drop what I'm doing and just get into safety. I'm shooting at someone and another person begins shooting at me. Once again, I just drop the current fight and get into cover. Staying alive is also important if you want a good KD. If I got greedy in these clips for more kills, I'd have died to the person shooting at me both times. There's a couple of settings I'd recommend to change. The first is found under Controls, and it's Reload Style. By default, it's set to Hold to drop reload, and Tap for Tactical, which is a slower reload. I'd recommend switching the two, so that you can just tap your reload key to do a quick reload instead, as this is the more commonly used reload. The next setting can be found under Key Bindings, then scroll down to the Weapons section. I'd recommend rebinding the Fire Mode and Magazine Check keybinds to something far away from you. I have used Page Up and Page Down. This is because if you're low IQ like me, you may accidentally press them, and this can be devastating to be unexpectedly performing an inspect animation, or even worse, go to shoot someone and only shoot once. Since I never use these buttons, keeping them far away from me is my preference. I'll close by analysing the 2 clips in the intro with the techniques that I've covered in the video. In this clip, I make multiple mistakes that lead to my deserved death. Sprinting around a corner without any thoughts. Not clearing an unknown corner safely, with the teammate blocking my view. Being far away from cover.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
My gun is ready due to me hearing enemies in the next room. I turn the 4v1 into a series of 1v1s by working the door frame. I can't see where the third person is, but I'm just putting rounds down range at my best guess, and they connect. The fourth person, who I didn't know was there, is thrown off by a quick drop to prone, changing my position. That's all for this one. Let me know in the comments what other videos you'd like me to make.